Are you looking for a natural way to support weight management and metabolic health without relying on medication? If so, stay tuned for how activating your body's natural GLP-1 pathways could be the answer you've been waiting for. Welcome to WellWaveNOW, where your portal for actionable wellness insights meet your empowerment theme. Breck Rice, the healthcare disruptor, decoder of medication complexities, and a community integrative wellness expert. Dr. Bob Levine, brain researcher and national leader in drug-free pain elimination. And I'm Tim Daniels, your wellness plan manager, builder of personalized wellness approaches as unique as you are to optimize your wellness with an expertise in post-electromagnetic field therapy. Together, we are your wellness catalyst, committed to elevating your wellness, enhancing your functionality, and optimizing your performance at every life stage. Our objective is to provide you with innovative strategies to boost your happiness and unlock your body's full health potential. WellWaveNOW, where timeless wisdom lights your wellness path. Today, we're welcoming with us Dr. Brim. He's president of Brimhall Wellness Center. He brings over 24 years of experience and passion for healing in a natural manner. He has trained doctors globally to achieve remarkable results. As a medical advisor to LifeVantage, he brings cutting-edge expertise in utilizing the body's natural mechanisms like GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide 1 activation, for weight management and overall wellness. We're thrilled to have him share his insights, wisdom, and knowledge of natural solutions for better health.
Yeah, welcome, Dr. Brimhall. It's great to have you here on the podcast. I've had the privilege of meeting with Dr. Brimhall in person. Fantastic provider right here in my own backyard in Arizona. So it's great to get together with you also for the podcast here. So let's set the stage because this is exciting. We've got a big announcement today I've been telling everybody about. But let's set the stage on exactly what are these GLP-1s, and it's a hot topic right now. Everybody's talking about all of the success everybody's having with these blockbuster semaglutides that are on the market. But let's dive into what exactly the GLP-1s are. So, Dr. Brimhall, can you briefly just explain and give us an overview of this? What did you call them? The glucagon-like? What is glucagon?
Glucagon-like peptide, yeah, GLP-1, I'll abbreviate it. But hey, I think Tim should introduce me every time. Like, I love his voice and just he's so smooth. But I like what you said about helping the body release its potential at whatever stage of life you are. And I think that's where current science is going, but looking for natural ways to doing that. So I've been in practice, for like a little while. I've actually worked in my dad's office since I was 14. I'm 50 now. So, healthcare is pretty much all I've known. And really from a functional perspective, like how do you get the body to do what it should do? Like at any age, at any stage, and to be able to live life really on your terms. And when it comes to the GLP-1, this is like, how many of you, in the chat, throw a 1 if you have heard of these medications like Ozempic, semaglutide, tirzepatide. These are all what they call GLP-1 agonists. Like they're very commonly used. They're used for weight loss, management of diabetes. Very, very common. It's estimated that they're going to be multi-billion-dollar drugs. Ozempic was over $1 billion last year, and they work. So they work to do what they're designed to do, which is help people lose weight and to help control their A1C. So the question is, like, why do they work? How do they work? What's the risk? What's the benefit? So it's very rare to have somebody born diabetic. Like, it just doesn't normally happen. There's a lot of people that become diabetic. So why do people become diabetic? It's because systems don't work the way they're supposed to. And so this pathway known as GLP-1, this is a hormone that's made in your gut that basically communicates with the rest of our body, in our muscles, our hearts, our brain, to basically say, hey, you're full. And we need to now take this fuel and burn it throughout the body. So what the drug companies found is this hormone, and they made something that looks similar to the hormone, so they like hormone replacement. And so they call it an agonist. Agonist means acts like. And so these GLP-1 meds, they stimulate that end receptor that basically takes over the function of your natural hormone. But that's what's causing people to lose weight. Like, they're losing mass quantities of weight. So, but keep in mind, they're losing weight. So how much of that is muscle loss and how much of that is actual fat loss? Because if you want faster metabolism, you want lots of muscle. Because your metabolic active tissue is your muscle. So they estimate between 60% plus of the weight loss is actually muscle loss. Now, why is that? Well, it's because when people take the med, they don't feel hungry because it slows down the way your digestive tract works. So there are times people will get constipated. There are times they'll have gallbladder problems, in serious cases, gallbladder attacks. And a lot of people will feel nauseated. Now, they stay on the medications because they work, right? So the people will lose the weight. And when you can drop a significant amount of weight, there is some cardiovascular benefits to that. So what you'll end up having, because remember, you're replacing the hormones, right? So you're basically taking something the body should make. You're giving it something that looks similar enough that it acts like that, but the body can't regulate it. So people lose the weight, but then to keep the weight off, they have to stay on some form of a dose of that medication. If you read the studies, they say forever to receive the benefits. And what I'm hearing from most people out there is watching people, they tend to find a smaller dose, taking less often, and to maintain the weight loss. But you're seeing a lot of complications with it because once people lose the weight, they no longer qualify for the medication, and so now they have to pay cash. So some of those, unfortunately, are going from, like, I have a lady, she's lost like 35 pounds that I know. Her medications are now costing her $700 a month, right? And I've talked to some pharmacist reps that I know, $1,000 a month some people are paying, but because they are getting the weight loss they've been trying to for years, to them it's been worth it, even though there's some massive consequences with that. Now, well, that's a brief overview.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. I appreciate you covering that. And, most of the people that I've talked to about this, their weight loss journey by taking these big blockbuster medications, they all say the same thing. They get the injection and they really can't even stomach food for about 2 or 3 days. So I'm like, well, that can't be healthy either if you're so nauseous that you don't even feel like eating.
Some people, unfortunately, because they don't eat, right, and so they get really weak. But that's also why the people lose muscle mass. And I mean, anybody that's had nausea before, they know you don't want to eat protein, right? It's hard to break down protein, and when your stomach moving slow, and that's why people will turn to a lot of carbohydrates, which we know is opposite what we want when it comes to, because that's going to cause more problems with blood sugar regulation and insulin and all that. But it's easier to digest, right? You can suck on a cracker and dissolve it. You can't suck on a piece of steak and dissolve it, right? That's the difference. So, but in order to have more muscles, you have to eat the things the muscles are made of. And when your digestive tract can't break down proteins, you're going to lose, unfortunately, muscle mass.
Okay. Well, quick question here, Dr. Brett. You may have touched upon this, but so I've got this and like how it shows how it's working, that it does work, and we've got some side effects here. But what is all the rage with this GLP-1? Because there are other things that have been tried. One we've had the ketogenic diet that was supposed to work. We had I'm forgetting the guy who came out of the Scarsdale diet, and he's came up with other things. And there have been a lot of things that have been tried that have come through. Is this just the latest rage, or what's so key about it?
I don't think it's the latest rage because what do Americans want? They want something that's simple that they can take, right? So you actually now have a medication that is promising that when you take this pill, right? And there's been other pills they've tried to create, but they had a lot of issues. The Fen was one of them, right? And all these, they would get weight loss, but they would also get like cardiovascular problems, right? And so with this, yes, there are side effects, there are consequences, but they work. Like they work. So the side effects are, my dad always told me, when the pain becomes great enough, you'll make a change, right? That's just how it works. So the pain is not great enough for these medications for people not to do them because the benefit that they're getting is worth the pain, whether that's a financial pain or whether that's some of the symptoms. Even though there's some people that can't take it, I've actually talked to a lot of people and said, look, this is the only thing that's worked for me. I've tried so many things. I've tried Atkins. I've tried whatever. It used to be Sears diet. I've tried all these different things, carnivore, and I just can't keep the weight off. Right. And they've kind of gone to the medication. These are people that in the natural space. Like these are people that are, good clinicians. And so they may try to go more of a natural route with a semaglutide, but we still know that it's an agonist. So your body will not make it, but it is helping them lose weight. And it's much bigger than just weight loss. Like if you start reading studies out there, these GLPs are being utilized for other things like autoimmune diseases, brain-based problems. I mean, there are cardiovascular benefits. I actually saw a study today on autism, right? And so there's a reason why that is. So if they're finding benefits of a medication in certain syndromes, understand that means that mechanism is part of why people manifest those symptoms.
Right. And then two things here. Appreciate that. One, you mentioned your father a couple of times, which you studied underneath him when he started at 14, and then you refer back, you gave his quote there. And don't want to take the spotlight off you, but I also think it's always good to learn. In my old martial arts days, we always talked about our kung fu lineage. Who'd you learn from? How far can you trace it back? Are you really getting authentic? So I want people to understand that you really, really got the authentic thing from your father studying at age 14. For those, he's often known and called among chiropractic as the father of wellness in chiropractic. And so he's leaned on by MDs, NDs, other chiropractors around that. And so you're taking that and you're building upon that legacy. Now, and so second thing though, back on the GLP. So you talk about how that it does work and just the results. But neither Bob and Breck won't admit it, but I'll admit it. I'm a nerd. They won't admit they're nerds too. But give us a little bit about why does this GLP one actually work in the body?
Yeah, no, it's fun to get a little geeky. I can get that way a lot, right? And just going back real quick to the lineage. So I come from a lineage of basically contractors and farmers and ranchers. And so the one thing we learned is work and work ethic. And so my dad was taught early on, work you so hard, all you think of that as school, and that kind of transferred down to us. But also a desire to help people. Like we just know, it's our failures that drive us, right? And so, so I've had, from the time I was basically 14 and really kind of paid attention to this stuff, I've been around some of the top thought leaders in chiropractic and wellness because my dad was studying with them and I would go to those events and learn. And so I just have had a unique background that which has led to where I am today. But it was my failures that changed my course. It was the ones I wasn't getting well or as well as I'd want that made me look harder and search longer. So, so coming back to the science. So when it comes to this GLP-1, so think of these GLPs or this hormone as a communicator. All right. So I'm married. Okay. So when my wife communicates with me, I'm going to listen, right? Because that's something that needs to happen, right? So these hormones communicate, and there's certain hormones that have more communication ability or more influence over the body. So this hormone that's made in your gut, when it talks, it tells your body how to take in fuel, how to store that fuel, how to burn that fuel, and when to stop eating. That's what it does. Okay. Now it does that because it has communication with the part of your brain called the hypothalamus that says, hey, we're full, stop. It has communication with your intestinal tract that says, hey, slow things down, we need to break this down. It has communication with your muscles that say, you know what, burn this stuff. It has communication with your liver that says, store this stuff. It has communication with your pancreas that says, hey, we need to turn on the insulin pump to pump the insulin out so we can actually break this stuff down. So it is a master communicator. So think of it as like the mom in charge of the CEO controlling that process. And so that's why when you look at a medication and there's utilizing it for so many different things, is because that master switch communicates with so many other areas. The challenge with the medication is it's synthetic. So what that means is when you put the key in, you can't get the key out very well. It gets stuck in there, so it turns the loop on too hard. And because you're no longer you just basically took the job over the person that used to have the key, so now they can't regulate it. So you can't come pull that key out when they're done. The body has natural mechanisms, just like you're supposed to be awake when you're supposed to be awake, you're supposed to be asleep when you're supposed to be asleep. There's these natural rhythms in the body to turn things on and off at given time. And with medication, when you're synthetically inducing it, you're making this person lazy over here, and then you're pushing this person too much over here. And so that's a layperson's way of looking at the science, but that's why we hear about this idea of a gut-brain connection, right? We talk about it all the time, and there's so much communication. Well, this hormone, this is one of the key hormones that directly drive that gut-brain connection. So why we don't make it is because most of our guts are so unhealthy and our diets are so sucky that we're not getting what we need. That's a nerd term, sucky. It's because, so now the body isn't getting what it needs, and it's not getting, so you have to have fiber for your gut to be healthy. So if you're not eating the fiber, the mechanical stimulus for your body to make the GLP-1, right? So if you don't have these things there, the environment is such that the body can't efficiently make this hormone, right? So medicine comes in as the hero and say, hey, we can make something that looks like that. Well, you got to take it forever. Right. But it works. So the cool thing, when you know it works like that, and the side effects, even though in my opinion are more than I ever want to deal with, and the consequence is big, and we don't know what the long-term consequence of these GLPs will be. But we do know what the long-term consequence of somebody being 40, 50, 60, 100 pounds overweight, right? So that's a better trade-off, right? But there's also a big consequence. Because of that, there's one thing everybody wants is to lose weight. I don't care if you have heart disease. People have heart disease, and they'll say, I need to change my diet, or I'd rather lose weight. They say I'd rather lose weight. Again, that's just the nature of humans and how they see and perceive themselves. So the pharmaceutical industry has hit a home run when it comes to getting what people want. But for me, like, that's why as LifeVantage, we're looking, okay, what we do is foundationally activate the body. That's who we are. Everything we bring to market is designed to look at a particular pathway in the body, find natural ways to get it to do what it's designed to do and regulate itself to enhance it to do what it used to do when it's younger. Like, we basically say, let's get it to make the stuff it used to make when it was younger in a natural way. Okay. So let's say weight loss, we kind of ask that question, like, okay, what is the key mechanism around weight loss? Is there a way we can find something natural, create something natural and prove it, right? That it will actually help not only do what it should do in a cell study, like what it should do. Like, when we start doing this, we test it in the cells, it works in the laboratory, and then also test it in humans. Right.
You're taking us into the next phase of what we wanted to talk about. But real quick, a comment you made earlier about how you have to, weigh out, all right, am I getting more benefit than the horrible side effects? And anyone that's listened to any of my content, you hear me say that about any medication. Hey, when the side effects outweigh the benefits, you really need to do something different. And so that takes us into the next part that we wanted to get into. And welcome to the panel here, the esteemed Dr. Bob Levine.
Hey.
Hi. Yeah. Hi, Dr. Brimhall. It's really nice to meet you and hear all the great stuff that you were saying. So I really like the content that you're putting forth. So you've covered the basics of GLP-1 and why it's so important. And how about you tell us something about the work that LifeVantage is doing to naturally activate this pathway? What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, great question. I'm not a real stranger to nutrition and formulation. My dad formulated over 200 natural products for different companies. And the process of formulation is pretty unique. And, some people just basically will take a ingredient in research and say, okay, this ingredient tend to have a similar action. Let's put them together. Right. And then they basically put the product to market, because there's different laws that allow you to do different things. It's safe to use, so they're allowed to use, but we don't really know what's going to happen in the human body. Right. And so there's some great supplements out there. My dad, he's really great formulator, done it for a lot of years. And so he's always studied constantly. Right. And we look at, books. So a lot of his formulas come out of research and clinical practice. Right. And that's, I think, a great thing, both looking at lab work and energetic testing, to just find the combination that works. Because in nature, everything kind of it works together. Well, in the day and age in which we live, we now have the capacity, if you have enough funding, right, to do a little bit of what drug companies do and say, hey, we know the pathway in the cells, right? So what if we could look at a combination of different plant extracts, put them together, and see how much more efficient the cell would become? Because a healthy cell makes a healthy tissue makes a healthy system, and a healthy system makes healthy humans, right? And so when you test it in the cell, and the cell has response, especially the cell types that are responsible for certain activities, that's a very unique way of testing. So you can basically prove your thing and say, hey, if we combine these different things. So imagine taking a bunch of different things and start combining them. Research says this should work, research says this should work, research says this should work, and then you start combining and playing the ratios until you get the response you're looking for in the cell without without negative side effects. Okay, that's a super unique way of formulation. And so when they were doing a weight loss, they say, look, this GLP thing is big. Like, this is working. We know this is the mechanism. Can we get the body to make this glucagon-like peptide itself? Can we have happen? And they started looking at what you do, and then as they combine it, we went to the test. Say, okay, this looks like it's working in the cells, like the way we want. So now let's do clinicals, right? And that's where you'll see in a lot of the pictures are the actual people experiencing the product.
So can you tell us more about how the LifeVantage approach? You probably already covered some of this. How the LifeVantage approach differs from, let's say, traditional medications.
Well, one thing, so in medication, like, for instance, let's just talk about one of the most natural anti-inflammatories out there in the world is white willow bark. Like, the Native Americans used to use willow bark and use it for fevers and headaches and pain, right? So science said, hey, this stuff works, and they isolated down the actual part of the willow bark that was having the benefit. Now, you can't patent a natural thing. Like, you can't say, oh, I can patent this and I can sell it, right? So what they did was they figured out the molecule, and then they connected it to some different molecules that weren't found in nature, and then they could patent it. That's your acetaminophen, Tylenol, Advil, all that, and those are giant multi-billion-dollar drugs over their lifetime because it's synthetically produced. So with LifeVantage, so think about taking a bunch of different plant extracts and say, hey, these all show good promise in studies. What if we started combining them? And because they're not found in nature that way, you can do patents on them.
I see.
Okay? So now we can take a patent of a natural substance that has a functional, so they're functional patent, they have a functional effect. Right? So the great thing about this too, from a business perspective, to have something that's unique and different and can be proven is fantastic business-wise, but also consistency of results. So one of the natural products is, you might say, well, I do green tea. You can type in green tea for all sorts of benefits, but you can go to the store and get 50 different types of green tea. They don't all have the same benefits because they're not all put together the same, come from the same type of plant from the same part of the world. When you combine them like this, you're going to get a consistency of results. That's a very unique thing in the nutritional space to be able to do. So that is how we differ. And then just having a publicly traded company where we go do the science and the clinical, I think is super unique.
Do you have to do toxicity testing on these combinations?
Yeah, we always do. Like, we look at pharmacology testing. Like, we don't, like, no, this is not a medication. We do not want to be a medication. The people always ask me, well, why don't you use it to treat X, Y, and Z? So, guys, if we found a magical plant in Brazil and it cured cancer, it wouldn't be 50 cents. Okay, it wouldn't be, because if you claim that you can cure or treat something with anything, that now becomes a drug. So I love what Tim, you said earlier. Like, we want all humans to function at optimal best no matter what stage of life they're in. And so that's what we're doing. So when we do a patent, it's both on functionality of what it naturally does in the body. I don't want it to be a drug. I don't.
Yeah, but when you're starting to combine things together that are not normally ingested in nature, isn't it?
That's why we do the pharmacology test. We do the study to make sure there are no toxicities.
And how do you do those? I'm really curious about that because I used to do.
Yeah, so some of that I can't speak to. Right, as far as like exactly what this is how it works, I just know we do it to make sure it doesn't have interactions, and so we look at like testing and say, hey, make sure there's no effect on kidney, liver, and things like that, right? To make sure.
Gotcha.
Okay. So with that, we talked about that testing and the effects it could have and how it functions differently. And I'm going to tie this into the question we've got from the listeners as well, so I can combine these things. So, and that question is, I'll give you that one first. It says, what causes you were talking about muscle fatigue, and Billy Train says, what causes muscle fatigue when someone has no energy to weight train or exercise? Also, does it affect, so I guess it's one of the leading to the side effects. Also, does that affect the hormone levels like testosterone, estradiol, etc.? And what I want to combine that with then and give you the flip side of that coin is, what then have you seen? Are you seeing similar benefits with your activation approach without the side effects?
Yeah, it's a good question. So there's several questions in that. So a couple of things. One thing you asked about. So basically, how strong a muscle is has a lot to do with how it burns fuel, right? And so you'll typically see people on some of these medications out there that they get weaker because, remember, you're losing muscle mass, you're not eating protein. With the natural one, though, when LifeVantage created, we're seeing people actually get stronger. Okay, so one of the things we look at body fat loss, lean muscle mass loss, right? So if you're doing it naturally, you should be losing weight and inches, okay, but you should not be losing muscle mass. Okay, so that's how you know if you're synthetic or non-synthetic. So that's stuff that we watch and monitor. And like, so my wife was on it, and the product didn't even release to the public till Friday, so on the 11th. I got some early, so I'm part of the science advisory board, and we both started taking it. So I'm like, look, I just want to feel it. I want to experience it, and just see how I respond to it. Within about 5 days, 4 or 5 days, my wife's like, look, your stomach's shrinking. I'm not a big guy, but my stomach got a little more, pudgy than it should be. And I was craving salty type stuff at night. Good. I wouldn't normally crave. I knew that over the last year, and I could tell.
Listening to this.
You're the mail.
So someone's not on mute.
Yeah. Mute everybody.
So I started feeling that I'd go I had a habit. I'd go to the cupboard and have like some chips and salsa or something like that from Arizona. I love that stuff. And I'm like, I don't want it. Right? It's a really weird thing in my head. Like, I don't really need it. I don't want it. I don't know why I'm going there. Right. And I actually, within 3 weeks, I had 2 belt loop sizes that changed. Right. With my wife, she works so hard. Like, it's such a mental game when it comes to food. She works hard. She feels like she has to work twice as hard, has to counter macros in order to maintain her weight the way she wants it to be. And it's just a constant, feels like she's starving herself at times, because she figured out that's how her body responds, right? But if she doesn't wash everything, then it then she doesn't have the success that she needs. And no matter, even if she's there, she still doesn't always like the way she looks, right? Because we've seen it before. So what she's noticed as she started utilizing this, she's like, I just make better decisions with food. The first thing she said, she's like, I know I'm hungry, but I'm not hangry. I don't have to eat anything. I feel like I have the time to decide what I want and to make something that's healthy, right? And for her, she started seeing inches lost in the stomach area, the hips, which is one of the hardest places for things to lose. And so I actually went off of it because like we're going to run out before it releases, and I actually want you to stay on it. So did she. I said, look, you stay on it. I'll come off it. I can get off when it comes back up. And it was funny. Within about a couple of days, I'm like, obviously that hormone was not being made as much. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I want chips and salsa again. This is not okay. Going full well. So obviously the cravings I was having was a result of my body not making that GLP-1 like it used to.
Yeah.
And it's been fascinating to watch that mental game that my wife has felt and I felt. And as I've talked to a lot of people that are on the products and the results that they're having, the mental game is what it's always been very fun to hear. Like, somebody said, like, I finally feel like I have willpower. I said, like, you know what? It's like, I just making better decisions with food. And a couple of ladies like, you know what? I actually don't mind looking at myself in the mirror anymore. Wow. So I have a sister that passed away from anorexia, you believe me. Okay. So no matter how thin she got, she still never saw herself as thin. Right? So that the word of dysmorphia, right? They don't like their bodies. Well, I've had multiple people I've talked to that would say phrases like, I'm okay looking at myself and I actually like looking at myself in the mirror. One lady who had an eating disorder in high school almost died, that I just don't have that in my head anymore now. So I really think that this hormone has a much more of an effect than we realize on the brain's ability to feel full and calm. Mm-hmm. And just like my wife said, I don't feel hangry. I don't have to just eat. She started making better decisions. So when the brain is cooled down, which evolved this GLP-1, because there's some studies look at GLP-1 in like nerve health. So I think we're going to have a much bigger response to that. So in answer to your question, so when the body is more efficient at like sending fuel to a muscle and burning that fuel that's stuck in the muscle, the muscle will be strong. That's an answer to that. So what you'll see happen, so if you're losing weight, right, and you feel like you're getting weaker, that is an absolute red flag that says, look, I'm losing muscle mass because you should not be getting weaker. Okay. And so and I asked my wife that very question. I said, hey, what are you noticing in your workout? She said, it's funny. I actually was leg pressing like 40 pounds more than normal. Didn't realize it. Right. So for her, like she's got super strong legs and she just like, wow, like I'm just stronger. Right. And so I've seen that time and time again with other people on the natural GLP because it has to do with how the body efficiently burns.
Yeah. Now, Dr. Brimhall, I know, we're all in agreement. I think everybody that's in the panel today that, a natural way is the best way to go. Is there a good case for why somebody should go on the semaglutide?
Again, so we didn't even have this option. Like there are some other things out there like berberine. Berberine is known to affect the GLP-1 pathway, but nothing. But it's a plant that has an effect on insulin sensitivity and stuff. But again, same story. So if you go type in berberine, right, you'll find some studies on it, and you go on Amazon or wherever else, and you buy something, the results will be very variable because all the products are very different. So there are people, right, that will benefit from the medication to get weight down because that was the best option they had. Mm-hmm. I didn't have this option before, right? Now that I'm watching people that were on semaglutide do this one and getting very similar and even some of them better benefits, then I'm actually hopeful to see what will happen. I have a lot of patients that they struggle with losing weight. And to have something that's natural, because they don't want to do the shots. Like they don't want to have to be on a medication. They don't want to spend $350 to $700 a month. Right now, to have an option, it makes me very excited. But also an option to work on that brain side of things. That you don't hear that a lot with semaglutide. You will with some people. They feel like a little more brain control. But I hear it consistently with this. Tim, you asked about the hormone that will have effect on hormones. Mm-hmm. I don't know yet. Sure. I have theories on that. Because knowing that they're using these medications on things like autoimmune diseases that actually will deplete certain hormones like testosterone, and knowing that your gut hormones affect your other hormones, and if you're more efficient at burning fat, and your body is becoming more insulin sensitive, your body is more likely to produce better testosterone, right? And because remember, your estrogens are stored in your fat stores, which are made up of triglycerides. right, which is excess glucose. I have a feeling we'll see changes in those as well. I don't know yet. Like there's some theories based on chemistry that to me I could actually be a reality, but I won't know on that yet. But I would say probably, hypothetically probably.
All right. We appreciate that. We're going to take a short break right now to thank our sponsor. So our sponsor for this half hour is Better Alt. And according to studies and also PubMed.org, this supplement can improve your energy level, enhance your cognitive function, support healthy aging. It supports your immune system. It's very important this time of year as we get into the cold and flu season to support that. With 85 plus trace minerals and bioactive compounds, it's the pure Himalayan shilajit. I just got my honey sticks, so I'm pretty excited. Here's the honey sticks for that because the pure resin is a little bit tart or doesn't taste real good. But now if you mix it with organic honey, it tastes delicious, and you can put it in your green tea or whatever else has really high antioxidants. So available at thebetteralt.com, GNC, and other fine retailers. I'll leave a link in the show notes. It'll also be available on the podcast notes as well. So now back to the show. Now, okay, so before we get into our last segment here, wanted to talk real quick and explain to everybody that's listening that there is an opportunity that Dr. Brimhall is offering everyone here, any new subscribers to the WellWaveNOW podcast. He is giving away a 1 month free, basically, of the semaglutide all natural activator. So
we're not going to call it semaglutide. We're going to call it a GLP. The name will be announced on Friday. Okay.
Yep.
What can people expect? What can people expect from that 1 month?
You know, it's again, like you heard what I felt, right? I really think one thing I really think will happen. This is what I'm noticing. I will be shocked if they don't feel the mental benefits, right, of it within a few days. Like I've noticed that, and so I would say probably, they'll lose weight and they'll lose inches in that first month. Right now, how much will depend upon. Like I've had some individuals, they've lost up to like almost 19 pounds, which is ridiculous. So that's super unusual. And I've had people that lost 5 that are in this study group, but I've had and a lot of them like 10, right? But what I'm noticing is the inch loss too. So I think I'll be shocked if they don't feel that benefit. Because remember, if you are where you are, as far as weight is concerned, as far as your cravings is concerned, as far as how your brain feels like it's performing based on how activated your cells, how they're healthily responding. And so with this, because this is regulating those actual gut hormones, like I really think they're going to, I'd be shocked if somebody doesn't feel a significant difference in just that mental gain. And if that mental gain stays at that long term, the other stuff will change.
How long are people expected to take this? Do they continue to take it after they?
Good question. Like, as I kind of look at the history of like weight loss and weight gain, my goal, and with myself personally and my clients, is to get them to not only a certain weight but a certain body fat percentage based upon what their goals are, and then find out what it takes to help them that level. So most of us, again, not all, we're kind of a weird group here. Like we work at our health probably more than the average person. And so even me that does that, like, I'm like, hey, I wish I had a tool like this before that it would help me with some of that stuff. Because I'm 50 this year. As your body ages, it doesn't produce the same thing. So this would be a tool. I could see people utilizing this long term, right? Now, and I think that if I had a choice between using this long term, let's say forever, and like a semaglutide or metformin, right, for managing blood sugar, 100% of the time I'm going to use this because number one, it's cheaper. And it's natural, and it's got a lot of other benefits. So it's a great question, Doc. I don't know the answer to that. I do think there's going to be some people that probably get to a point where they want to be, and they're like, you know what, I've cleaned my diet up a lot and add a lot more natural fibers to my diet. I've added a lot more healthy food and fermented food. I'm going to see how my body does just based on diet. Because people think, well, can I do it without supplements? Well, that depends on your diet. Depends on what you like. If you're not eating or moving your body, you're going to need a lot more help than not. Okay. And so, for me. What's that?
Great points, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's critical. Like, I mean, my wife would always joke with me. She's like, we work out real hard, and she's like, you do know that abs are made in the kitchen. You know, I'm like, I don't like that, right? And so the reason we are where we are, I tell people this, like activation is getting your body to do what it's designed to do as optimally as possible.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be a bodybuilder, you're going to have different things to be able to like have that level of activation than someone who wants to be a mom or a dad or whatever. This kind of focused on like a different level of wellness or energy. But if I have different things that I can do to activate my cells with a very simple tools that allow me to maximize my benefit, I'm going to do it. I'm going to time as long as it's safe.
All right. Speaking of bodybuilder, our resident bodybuilder who's in the audience today has a question. It's back on the hormones, so it may still be fair, but different type of hormones. It may be still fair, like you said, say you don't know yet. You have to look at that. But he's trying to understand now if the product affects the leptin and
Leptin and Ghrelin.
Leptin, Leptin, and the Ghrelin.
Ghrelin, yeah. So the short answer is yes. Yeah, short answer is yes. Because if you affect GLP, you will affect those too. It's because it's like one pathway feeds other pathways, and this is a big one. So yeah, exciting. Whoever answered that question, yeah, it's
right. And so why are those two important, Dr. Brett?
Those have a lot to do with like the cravings we have. They have everything to do with our body burning our fuel and not storing fat.
Yeah.
And so all these they kind of tie into it. Like let's say no hormone is like independent of other hormones. So if you can affect, so for instance, if I gave myself testosterone and I was in a high stress situation, my body's going to convert it to cortisol. It's what it's going to do.
Good.
So all these hormones play with each other and they can transfer back and forth depending on which ones they are. And so that's why lifestyle, diet, sleep, all that matter as well.
Yeah. And so that leads into the next question related to that. And you touched upon it earlier where your wife said 6-pack start and then they, in the kitchen. Also, we talked about the amount of weightlifting she was doing on that. But as you get people into this activation, are there lifestyle changes that you want them to take or be aware of? Or are you helping them think about that?
One of the things that we'll do as a group is like we have, if you got to keep it simple, especially for a guy, right? Mm-hmm. If it's too complicated, guy, not good. So the system is 2 capsules in the morning first thing. Okay, then you basically drink this drink throughout the day. Okay, that's the system. Now, we have a whole protocol and say, hey, you know what? Try to incorporate these foods, right, and these activities. Right? But other than that, we're not changing a lot. Now, if I was working with them clinically in my practice, I was coaching them. Yep. And we have groups created for that people can plug into so they can get that feedback and get those questions answered and just be a part of that type of community because people need a community where other people are doing what they're doing and seeing, hey, it's possible for me. Yeah, so we're not on the study group of people, like we didn't have them change other things. Like now in the Facebook group that we have for people to learn about it, like you'll hear some tips and some stories and some things that we're going to encourage you to do. But what I'm seeing is, I even noticed this in myself, when I was taking it, it's like my motivation to do what I know I'm supposed to do was better. Right? And so what I do believe will happen as people are having this GLP activated, a lot of us know the right rules. Like we know some of the things we should do, right? It's like we don't have the willpower to do it, right? That's this miscommunication that really is coming back to the food supply and what crap in our food that makes us crave stuff we should not. And that's a whole another podcast that I don't have time to go into.
And we'll have and if you'd like to, we'll have you back.
That one will be fun because the reason why we are where we are is because the stuff that's in our food that makes you crave it. It makes zero sense that a 2-year-old will throw a fit if you don't give them a Cheeto, but they're never going to throw a fit for broccoli. Right. There's something in your food that is making you crave it. It's a cigarette, right? So, and again, that's all. I'm going to leave it there. But this is what's messed up that GLP system, in my opinion. Part of it is once you damage the gut, that because of processed foods and medication or whatever else, well, now your body's not making the hormone that tells you you're full. Right. I'll experience it.
And even things there are maybe referencing other chemicals and different types of processed
100% of the time, like it's there. So there's more to this, but this.
But even things such as salt and sugar that are in the,
I crave salt, right? And I know why that is, but like when that GLP is working, like I didn't crave it.
Right.
So there's other things, but like as far as changing like massive things, as far as diet, lifestyle, we have certain things we're going to encourage people to do. Right. If they're in my clinical practice, that's a different story. Right, those are ones that I'm working with, and yes, we do more concerted stuff there to just enhance the result.
And before I give you another question on that, I keep saying I saw Dr. Bob smiling and getting on to it, and I know he was. Well, I think I know part of what he was going into. He's with you on that mental side of it and affecting that side. So, Dr. Bob, go ahead and share how one can help affect the mental side of this and getting to where they need to be as they hop onto something like this GLP-1 activation.
Well, as Dr. Brimhall said, I mean, the fact that he has experienced the changes in mental acuity that are beneficial to him, that's really a big deal. That's amazing. And we can also so anytime I embark on something different, I'm getting my mind aligned with that so that, I'm creating a future vision for the benefit that that's going to provide. And I also make myself guided meditation audio tracks to listen to that support the results I want to get. But I'm really fascinated by what you're saying because there's so many people that need help in this area. It's crazy, and there's, in terms of weight loss, it's just, it's just crazy. And so anything that's natural, that's not going to have big time side effects, it's just a beautiful thing. So I'm really interested to explore this more after we get done with this podcast.
Yeah, for sure. I love it. I go to the Dr. Levine. I listened to years ago on a lecture for a company. Did you used to teach for a company?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So your voice sounds familiar. So I have to go back to patients in about 10 minutes. So I got to leave in 5. And so
appreciate that. Appreciate your time. Appreciate taking time away from patients to kind of, help us get this message out. It's important for people to hear. So I guess the question I would leave you with on this is, while there is a whole set, as we know, people who don't, and I happen to be one of them. I'm not against medication, but I don't like to be on medication. And partially it's because I used to run a home care agency for the elderly, and I have the same problem I have with my clients, which is compliance. If somebody wants me to take a drug for 2 years, 3 years, that compliance is going to fall off on that. But by the same token, you've got people with, whether it's not from compliance or if they don't want to have an aversion to medication. There are some who are rightly, and I always say we never try to take anybody off the allopathic path or off the conventional health path, because that plays a very important part of the role of helping people maintain their health if they're out there. That said, there are people who, because of that mindset, are really hesitant to not go a medication route and to really say, are hesitant about, is this natural stuff voodoo? Is it patent medicine? So how would you help them? How would you help them in the mental life?
Yeah, for sure. I always say if what you're doing working, keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And really, if what you're doing working, keep doing it. But if it's not working, I've never met somebody that wanted to be on more medication. I just have, right? And I've never met somebody born on medication. I've met a lot of people that are using medication to manage different things because that's all they know, right? And so I say, wherever you're at, like if one of your goals is weight loss or having better energy, then look at this, consider this. I know that one preset, people are they want that bad right now. I'm gonna donate one preset. But if you got questions, get with one of us some point in time and answer some of those things. Because if you're where you want to be, awesome, keep doing it because it's working. If you're not where you want to be, you got to change something because it doesn't get easier as you get older. That way, it gets easier by doing things different. And so, and if you're on medication, I mean, even if someone's on medication, they come to my office, I say, you need to tell your doc that you're starting to change your diet and you're starting to do some exercises and they monitor you. And just as you no longer need the medications, that you can wean off of them, right? And that's how you should do it, to do it in the right way, because as people become healthier, they need less medications, right? And just like when somebody's healthy, they need less sleep a lot of times. Right? So it's just depending on what the body does.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, go ahead, Brett. Go ahead.
No, I know Dr. Brett's got to go. He's got a patient coming in, but I just wanted to thank him. What a generous, kind offer to give a GLP-1 all natural activation set. The way that you can enter to win that, if you are already a subscriber, you're automatically entered. But please subscribe to the WellWave Now podcast. I put a link in the chat, and also there'll be a link in the show notes.
Yeah, and then we'll let one of them draw it so they're not mad at me. I think that's fantastic. You get the randomizer there. Grateful for you guys. And if people want the product, like they just get with Breck or Tim, they'll help you how to do that. And it goes live to be available on Friday at 6:30 Pacific, so that's 4:30 Central.
Right, beautiful.
Nice. Hey, you guys.
Before you go, here's something for you right here, Dr. Brett. from one of the audience says, "Thank you so much. This is pretty exciting." So there's good feedback for you.
No, that's my great blessing is helping people. And just because at the end of the day, guys, I want you to be better husbands, better fathers, better mothers, better sisters, better friends. And if we don't have our health, it's super hard to do that. Just pray after the best for you guys, and thanks for having me.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And then there was a question from the audience. Well, Brett, take a look in the chat if you would about the link on the podcast.
Yeah.
And then we'll do that. But there was also a question in the audience about, was he going to give us the name? And he's not. And so now, as you see, you're not getting the name of the product because he doesn't want to pre-announce it. But you're back. I've lived 5 lives now. Most of them pretty good. And this will take me back to my old IBM days. And even under a non-disclosure, we often never gave you the name of the new product. Just tell you that it's coming and its featured functions. And so that's what Dr. Brett did with us today. Gave us the features, the function, and the benefits and the approach. And it will be, but you do know it's coming from the company where he is a medical advisor to, and that's LifeVantage. And it'll be out here in the next few days, and you'll get the name that way. Is that correct, Brett?
Yes. Yeah. We'll have that here by the weekend, and anyone can contact any one of us here on the show, and we'll get you more information.
I might have missed it, but did he talk about price at all?
No, I didn't talk price.
Okay.
Yeah, we just know it's going to be a lot less than what the medication is, right? It is a supplement. I suspect it'll be, I think the lowest I've seen the compounded semaglutides are around $250. This will come in well below like half of that price. Yeah.
Well, when it gets the job done, it's worthwhile for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. So this has been fun to learn all about this. We have so much more to do with this show and help as many people as we can. I want to thank everybody that was here on the TikTok Live and Facebook Live. And Tim?
Yep. And likewise, add my thanks and gratitude. Come back and join us again, where we will look to try and give you the actionable insights to help you achieve the optimal wellness in life that most of us want. And as Dr. Bob always likes to say, to make us a little happier too.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim. Thanks for putting in the plug for happiness. Really important.